Good Friday here in our branch, and the turnout is utterly amazing. I want to let you know that after this presentation is over, we will be having brunch. You each have a ticket on your programs. We're just going to be collecting them at the door, so make sure you hold on to those. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Derek Martin. He is our Executive Director here at the branch, and he is going to start our program off this morning by giving us a quick, well not quick, but an invocation. And then we're going to turn it over to Dr. Perry Smith, who's going to talk about what really happened that first Easter. So Derek, start us off.
I'm sure everybody realizes this isn't the first time I had to raise a mic after someone spoke, right? And Sean knows me really well and knows that I don't do anything really fast, so I appreciate you enduring me now. But just, you know what? I'll take this off. I just wanted to say how truly blessed and honored and humbled that I feel and we feel as a YMCA family and community to share fellowship with our neighbors on this beautiful Good Friday. We welcome everybody here today for our very first Good Friday brunch. We especially thank God, as it's by His grace alone that we have nearly 150 people here today in Union. It's no coincidence that the YMCA mission is to put Christian principles into practice to build healthy mind, body, spirit for all. And I'll emphasize, for all. In Ephesians 4:2-4 says, always be humble and gentle. Be patient with each other, making allowance for each other's faults because of your love. Make every effort to keep yourselves united in spirit, binding yourselves together with peace. For there is one body and one spirit, just as you've been called for one glorious hope for the future. It's also no coincidence that the YMCA core values represent caring, honesty, respect, and responsibility. The Y welcomes everyone, regardless of where you came from or what you believe. Our Y Family Association strives to embody diversity and inclusion and acceptance of everybody. We stand for healthy living, youth development, and social responsibility to help build a better community and change lives one at a time. Now, I'm quite certain that everybody's anxious to hear Dr. Sherman and get me off this podium, but before I do, I'd like to share a thoughtful reflection inspired by John 3:16, written by Roddy Hamilton. It's a story of love. For God so loved the world that He gave His only Son. Gather around, I have a story to tell. One who reached inside himself and took a handful of love, like a pile of stardust, and said, "This is for you. It is all you need. It is all you will ever need. There is enough here to change the world. Take it." Many laughed, many mocked, many ignored the invitation, but some dared to take it. And those who did noticed something about this love. They found that they could do what the gift giver could do. They could stand with the lost, welcome the traveler, eat with the hungry. They found themselves doing what the man first did to them, give something of themselves to others. They became like the man offering themselves. And they offered themselves, others took the invitation. And many still do. And many still trust. It's enough to change the whole world. So with that, I'd like to introduce Dr. Perry Sherman. And as I was reading this bio, I almost couldn't pronounce some of the stuff that he's done, which is truly remarkable. And I had the pleasure and feel blessed to actually listen to his presentation last night, my first time ever. So Perry Sherman graduated from Case Western Reserve University with the Hal Loranger Award for Top Polymer Science Graduate in 1981. See, that's what I mean. I needed a translator for that. He developed electronic technology for Hughes Aircraft, and then the technology to make the stealth bomber invisible at Northrop Grumman. He made something invisible, Perry. That's pretty impressive. Most of it classified except for his patent for high-temperature radar absorbent coating. Concurrently, he earned a master's degree in Christian apologetics from the Simon Greenleaf School of Law studying law and historical evidence, the examination of eyewitness testimony, and philosophy applied to religious claims. During this time, he earned a master's and Ph.D. from the California School of Professional Psychology and a certificate in international human rights from the University of Strasbourg, France. He has the unique combination and cross-training from the diverse fields, giving him an understanding of science, history, the examination of evidence and proof of case, and understanding people. His interests include economics, philosophy, history, psychology, international human rights, and the origins of life. He has served adults and families as a psychologist in Del Mar for over 15 years, and Perry was proud to inherit 2 daughters by marrying previously widowed Debbie Burrell. The 2 daughters graduated from Bethlehem High School, right here in our backyard. One's a math teacher in Averill Park, and the other a Ph.D. candidate at the Columbia University in New York City doing cancer research. So, Dr. Sherman, Perry, it is a blessing to have you here, and without further ado, Perry Sherman.
Thank you, Derek. And thank you all for coming out this morning. Good Friday. We're going to talk about what really happened that first Easter. And this may be some different material than you've heard before. This is, we're really going to dig deep into what the historical evidence is. And this is a question, the resurrection, whether or not Jesus really rose from the dead or not, a very important question. Probably it affects everybody, and he's the only person in the history of the world who was able to lay down his life and raise it up if he did it. And it's a factual question. It's not it's historically, did this happen? It's not a philosophical question that's going to be answered by somebody in a religion class or philosophy class at Harvard. It's going to be answered by examination of evidence and facts. This is a question where you need scientific, legal, historical, and forensic methods. So what are these methods? I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But first, I'm going to discuss the evidence outside the Bible. Even if you didn't have the eyewitness testimony in the Bible. Okay. This is the big bang there was for the earthquake that happened. So this is a Greek historian writing in 52 AD named Thales, and he wrote that on the whole world presided a fearful darkness, and the rocks were rent by an earthquake, and in many places in Judea and other districts were thrown down. So this is not a believer in Jesus at all, but a historian writing in Greece. He knows about the facts of what happened, which agrees with the New Testament. There are many other non-Christian references. I'm only going to go through a few. Josephus and Lucian. Lucian is a Greek satirist, and Josephus is a Jewish writer who lived in Rome, probably wrote 71 AD or after. He lived till about 110 AD, and he was commissioned by the Roman Emperor to write a history of the Jews. So he's got a 1,000-page history of the Jews, very prominent in historical studies. And he and Lucian both indicate that Jesus was wise. Pliny is a Roman historian, and the Talmud, which is the commentaries, the Jewish commentaries on the Jewish scriptures, and Lucian implied that he was a powerful and revered teacher, and Josephus and the Talmud indicate that he performed miraculous feats. I don't know why my thing is going that fast, but anyway, Tacitus and Josephus and the Talmud and Lucian all mention that he was crucified. Tacitus and Josephus say that this occurred under Pontius Pilot, and the Talmud declares that it happened on the eve of Passover. All these things agreeing with the history that the Bible indicates. The Christian belief in Jesus' resurrection is mentioned in Tacitus and Josephus, that people believe that Jesus rose from the dead. This isn't something that happened hundreds of years later, because these historians are indicating that this is the case, and they are living it in the first century. Josephus records that the followers believed he was the Christ or the Messiah, and Pliny and Lucian indicate that Christians worship Jesus as God. So these are not things that happened later. So you could have, even from the non-Christian references outside that indicate everybody was agreeing that Jesus was wise, he's a powerful and revered teacher, he performed miraculous feats. He was crucified under Pontius Pilate on the eve of Passover, and Christians believed that he rose from the dead, and the followers believed that he was the Messiah, and they worshiped him as God. This is the most powerful evidence, however. It is the most powerful and fundamental evidence for establishing a case in law or something that happened historically is eyewitness testimony. All the things that I quoted that are outside the Bible are actually hearsay evidence. These are people who have heard about things, investigated things that other people have said, and they're writing them down. But what you want that's the best kind of evidence, and to demonstrate something this important, I want the best kind of evidence, is eyewitness testimony. People were actually there who saw the event. So this is what we're going to look at, because this is the most powerful evidence, the kind of thing that would convict somebody in the court of law beyond a reasonable doubt. The first hypothesis we're going to test are, there are three things that we would have to determine if there's to determine if there really was a resurrection. First, are the documents that we have reliable? Did they come to us ostensibly as the people who wrote them intact, and are they reliable? Secondly, do they contain eyewitness testimony? Because if they don't contain eyewitness testimony, if they're just somebody making a statement they didn't really see there, they weren't there, then they're not as valuable as if they actually contain eyewitness testimony. And third, did they observe that Jesus was dead at point A, and do these eyewitnesses observe that he's alive at point B? Now keep in mind, observing whether somebody's alive or dead doesn't require any complicated scientific equipment. I'm a scientist, doesn't require any special trained, like I'm a psychologist, special trained observational skills. It's not really that difficult to determine. I'm eating lunch with you today.